I do, Joyce.
Part of the cities expanded. And you know,
We have
that's
ideas.
deadly. I mean, you can't. And we don't have enough economic.
Hey, good work. I got the work cut out.
It's
unmuted,
Okay, all right. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome to the January meeting of the Governance Committee. We'll warm up with the normal start off of approving the minutes from the last meeting. You're here 2 in a row. You could actually comment if the meetings were correct.
It's a good habit or a bad habit. I don't know.
Oh, gosh, we wish you thought it was a good habit.
It remains to be seen.
So, any comments or corrections on the minutes? I hearing none. I entertain a motion for approval.
I'd move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second that.
Thank you. So all in favor, aye, please?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have our minutes. We correctly recorded the last exciting meeting. So John, you're taking us to the first issue tonight, which is, I'm sorry, Gage, you are. It is an authority to Blake to execute an agreement.
Yes, sir. Board staff have submitted a request for the board president to execute an agreement that exceeds the authority that is delegated to the board president in policy. This contract would be for instructional design services for the foundations and structured literacy course that's being developed pursuant to the Blueprints Literacy. So the course is being designed, and then this contract with Wichita State would be for, I think Dr. Lane is here if we have questions about.
Well, that's why she's here.
The work that's being
Want to see us.
the work that's being done, but so Wichita State will take the course that's been designed by the experts and transform it into a material that's ready to be delivered to students. And the cost of this contract will be up to $336,000 for the design work, and then there'll be a $25,000 per year ongoing cost for 4 years for maintenance of a website that Wichita State is creating for the material.
So is the contract ready to approve? And if not, what are we looking to be updated before we sign it?
I think it's ready.
We're negotiating just some final technical language details, but the cost estimate is in the term. Those items won't change.
Okay, all right. Any additional questions?
Did Wichita State get selected because of Shocker Studios or what? What part of it?
No, I mean, they certainly have the capacity, but in conversation with all the public university deans in Washburn in October, the other universities had conferred with their instructional design folks who said that they have the skill sets, but they did not have the capacity to do it within the time frame that we're asking it to be done. So Wichita State stepped up and said that they did have the scope of work time frame. So that's why they were selected.
So the other institutions had the opportunity to provide input.
Absolutely, and we have ongoing meetings between the deans and the Literacy 7 group to make sure that it's aligning with how they want to do instructional delivery.
Right, so who's the Literacy 7?
There is one literacy expert appointed by each university, 6th region and Washburn, that are the folks that we've charged to actually write the course content, and they're heavily involved in the blueprint work.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the group. I just hadn't heard them call Literacy 7. I don't think.
We call them L7.
I call it the Magnificent Seven.
They have a lot of, so that's who they are.
Okay, well, hopefully we won't make another group of 7 anytime real soon. Okay, all right. Any questions?
I'd move for approval.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you. Right, all in favor, aye, please?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you can go sign it, Blake. You're welcome. Thanks for coming by. Okay, and then you recall that we did the Faculty of the Year award last year. I have to say, well, my view, I guess I will say, is it was incredibly successful. I think we wound up with a group of people who were excited to get the award. You all will recall we offered the chance to come in person or to Zoom, and almost everybody came in person. I think, in fact, everybody that was still an employee of our system came in person. So I think that just demonstrates how how meaningful the award was and is. But we did have a few bumps, including one university not being able to come up with their standard, not giving us any nominations. So we were asked to think about how we might make some adjustments. In my humble opinion, some of what was portrayed that we thought was the good old keyboard says. So maybe we need some clarity. But there was a specific request for separating the non-tenured group into a non-tenured track and a tenured track. So it would give us three groups of people. We've given a draft policy that would do that, but it's simply meant to be a vehicle for us to talk about this. And then I think I heard as many or more comments about why don't we have something for staff recognition, which I think is a very excellent question. So I, just as one person, I would also like us to consider a policy that we do that as well. We can take these in two pieces. So first, anybody's thinking on the idea of adding one more. I mean, there was some talk about we could have less. I'll just say my view on that. This is something that celebrating people you can never do too much of. It's a great thing to show people you care. This is a way that clearly was working to show people we care, and to take something back at this point, I think is take something that was going really good and turn it into something that's a negative overall. So I don't think we should do that, but I'll have an open mind if that comes up. I do think there's a question if we need the non-tenured track separated into two or not. Because if we think about the buckets of people, we might get one bucket that gets fairly small. So I'd like you to tell us if we were to do this, how many are in each pool? And as a side note, how many be in a staff pool? That's my opinion, but I don't want to dominate the discussion here. There are other thoughts.
And just for clarification, you mentioned 3, tenured, non-tenured, and staff.
The policy doesn't include staff. The draft policy you have in your deck doesn't include staff. The draft policy stratifies the non-tenured faculty to a tenure and non-tenured track. So that would be the 3: tenured faculty, tenured, non-tenured, tenured track, non-tenured track. And again, I just think the more we divide this, then you might have an award for, which isn't necessarily bad. I just think we should know this. You might have an award that it's 1 per 1,000 and an award that's 1 per much smaller number, which I just think we need to know that. But again, I'm all for, if people say, hey, I can celebrate a little bit if you help me out, then let's help them celebrate. So I'm not opposed to dividing into 3, but I think we need the numbers. And then a separate policy would be a staff award. And then we do the same thing. I mean, I think this is an enabler is all it is. We do the same thing. We tell the institutions, figure out what your criteria is, make a nomination. And the odds are pretty high that if they nominate somebody, we're going to approve it. Does that all make sense?
So we get more information from Blake.
Yeah. Which is all we intended today anyway, was just have, and the reason it's here is because it doesn't really fit anywhere. So, when it doesn't fit anywhere, and then we go to this is our chair, our committee chairs, our chair and vice chair. So this is what I'd call our senior leadership group. So we thought this was the place to put it. So all we intended to do was take this from something people were talking about. You remember the faculty representative last meeting mentioned this again in his report, and turn it into action. So we'll do this next time. Hopefully we'll come out with a proposal for the first read to the board in February, and then whatever we're going to do finalized in March. That's the way I see it. You're a more experienced chair. Those who have a different perspective, that'd be.
I see it as you see it.
Okay, great.
The one university that wasn't able to establish, was that the issue? They weren't able to establish criteria for the award?
Yes. Well, okay, I don't think I can probably answer that, because it probably was as varied as people that were going to the faculty senate. But the stated reason I heard more often than not was there was a service element in our belief that we had a service element in our criteria. And all faculty don't have things they do that are associated with service, so therefore they couldn't write it. Now, if they'd have asked me that, I'd have said, well, service is a pretty broad term, and it doesn't have to mean you do it in your job. You could, service could be almost anything. So again, my personal view, which I've expressed, is I think we got to the details and that got in the way of one place getting to make the award, the same award everybody else got to make. I think they're focused on getting through that this time, is my impression. I've done everything I could to have that be the case. Because it was, I mean, we got to the reality of one place didn't do it, that obviously is not a good look. Okay, anything else on this one? Okay, and then we're calling on Wichita State for the campus security report. Is that, I have the right script? Okay.
And they are on virtually.
Hi, thanks for being here. You're up.
Thank you, Regents. My name is Stacia Bowden and I'm General Counsel, and I'm just going to do really introductions here. Our campus safety and security it takes a lot of individuals on campus, but who we have here today are three of our primary leaders here on campus. Courtney McHenry is our Associate Vice President for our Civil Rights Title IX ADA Compliance Office, or we also call that CTAC. We have Guy Schroeder, who is our Chief of Police. And then we have Corey Hurl, who is our captain. Both Guy and Corey are with our University Police Department. So I'm just here for introductions and to fill in any answers for any questions if needed, but I'm going to kick it over to Captain Hurl.
Thank you for being here.
Morning, everybody. Appreciate your time. Thanks for letting us present. I'm Corey Hurl. I'm captain over operations at the University Police Department. Our department consists of Chief Schroeder, 2 captains. There are 8 sergeants. I have 2 detectives, 21 officers, an administrative assistant, and then we have our own dispatch center and our records clerk. They all help in assisting me with working with our CTAC office and the filing of the Clery report. We help collect all the data. So we get all the reporting from every location that we have. It's a very extensive process. As far as our Clery data from last year, our data is in line with our historical numbers and other institutions of our size. We did have 2 incidents that occurred on campus of last year of note, but it didn't result in any harm or injury to any employee or students. Both those incidents were handled according to our policies, our protocols that we've well established, and working with our other local partner agencies in Sedgwick County. As far as updates to any existing security systems and processes, really proud to announce, I talked about CRAZE last year, which is our flagship active shooter threat or active threat training course. Since January of 23, we've had 45 sessions, which allowed us to teach around 1,000 people how to respond in case of an active shooter. It's been really good response from that. We included the federal Stop the Bleed campaign, so training people on how to apply tourniquets or stop bleeding, because that's the #1 cause of loss of life. So if we can prevent that, we can save people. Excuse me. Our large campus-wide electronic lockdown system is fully operational in our dispatch center. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, our dispatcher just has to hit a button. It'll lock down everything that's card access on this campus or our local satellite campuses. Additionally, we have some areas that are like high priority areas right now that have had, they have their own remote capability of doing it at their own desks, and we're expanding that as time goes on. One of the big things we did last year is we reached out to a federal agency called CISA. I don't know if you're familiar with it, CISA. They're a cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency. They did an assessment. It was like 3 days, over 1,000 questions on just for Charles Koch Arena. It's where we host most of our events, to provide us with a large assessment briefing, which we've already implemented several of their suggestions. They were happy with a lot of the things we were doing. But we've expanded our camera coverage within and inside and the exterior of that probably 3 times what we had it. Also improve some protocols for events that go on there. As far as new security related systems or processes, we have added 3 mobile trailer camera systems, like what you might see at Walmart, stuff like that, giving us a 360 view where we didn't have coverage just due to the cost of putting something more permanent. Allows us to move those around. Giving us that, real-time threat analysis, because we get that information almost immediately. We're working with our innovation campus partners on a departmental drone or UAV program. We'd like to see a couple of those up running within a year. I think that's going to be very beneficial, not only to assist in our events that we have, but potential for, lost individuals, lost property. That's going to be helpful. We added a license plate recognition system at every campus entrance on the campus. So that allows us not only to search, but we can apply alerts. So if we're aware of something, did I have a question? Oh, I thought I got some feedback. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you got feedback, but we didn't have any questions.
Oh, okay.
We're just listening in an enthralled way. So
Oh,
you have a lot going on in an important area.
yeah, we do. We got a lot of irons on the fire. But that license plate recognition system, not only can we search for, using the data that's available to us there, but we can place alerts. So if we know, there's a potential threat, somebody, and we know what they drive, we can identify that vehicle. We can place an alert on that vehicle, and it will let us know in real time as soon as they come onto the campus. So really, that's been very beneficial for us. Tabletop exercises or trainings that have been conducted outside of the craze that we've been doing and other things that we offer. The university did a tabletop here that was put on by an external agency. It was a good readiness exercise, but I'm really proud to talk about something that we have coming up here in the spring. We've been working with federal, state, and local authorities to do a mass casualty exercise that we're going to host. It's been at least a year and a half in the making. It started with tabletops that we were doing with all of our local agencies. That includes all local police departments here in Sedgwick County, the Sedgwick County Fire agencies, EMS, federal agencies that, like, we've got the FBI that's here, the ATF, Department of Homeland Security, obviously FEMA being a part of it. But we've also reached out, well, in this group, to who would be involved if there's something. So like the Red Cross, our local hospitals are going to be participating in this. Wichita Transit, or USD 259 Transit, in case we needed their busing capabilities to move people. It's going to give us a way better understanding of how ready we are, things that we need to improve, things that we're doing right now. I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be probably the largest scenario that's ever been done in the state of Kansas. It's coming up here in the spring, so we're really, really happy about being a part of that. Ways that we facilitate communication between students, faculty, staff. We meet pretty regularly with representatives of our innovation campus. We're speaking to students at every orientation, and the officers are encouraged to get out and about all the time as well. We get requests to come speak about safety, that we'll go and do those. We're on a lot of interdepartmental teams on campus here, not just with CTAC, doing Cleary, but the CARE team, our prevention of sexual violence team that's out here, our suicide prevention team. our critical incident planning group, and those, run the gambit with it's one great thing. I've been here 20 years. We're not really siloed. We see people all the time. We're interacting all the time. So we're doing that as much as possible. We've pushed out several hundred flyers that we've put in strategic locations that have, if there's a campus emergency, it's a very simple, actually, I have one here. If there's, it's blurred out. Great. Hang on one second. Yeah. It says if there's a campus emergency, it just has our phone number. If you see something, say something. They're bold yellow. So, our university colors, as well as something to catch somebody's eye. As far as what we do and how we assist providing information outside of campus, we let people know about Wichita PD has heat maps that identify, crime density throughout the city. So if they're looking for a place to stay, we also provide our statistics and general safety information, not only at orientations, but upon request. We go and talk to different groups. We have different times that we meet with students, or we'll put something out that, hey, we're going to be here. But yeah, that's a general thing that we try to practice all the time. I wanted to get this in real quick for y'all. Is there any questions for me before I hand it off to Dr. McHenry?
It doesn't look like there is. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, board. My name is Dr. Courtney McHenry. I have the privilege of serving as the Associate Vice President for the Office of Civil Rights, Title IX, and ADA Compliance. We're also called CTAC, CTAC. And I also serve as the Title IX coordinator here as well. So in my area, we happen to have a team of 9. So I'm actually I'm very happy about that. So we have myself, we have a director of investigations, we have an ADA and section 504. Here we have we have an assistant director for clerical compliance and education, 2 Title IX and civil rights investigators. We have a case manager and 2 student programming assistants. Okay, so we have a very, very good team here, and I'm very happy about that. In terms of CTAC resources, so this past year, we have dedicated many different resources to this office. Definitely, we've added 2 deputy Title IX coordinators for more support around campus. One is housing and housing and residence life, and the other one is in the industry defense program section. So we have that too. And then as it pertains to the other 2 that I talked about, our staff of 9, we have 2 student programming assistants here. And so those help us with some of everything, doing research, looking at different trends, patterns. These 2 these 2 student roles were actually made through the applied learning here. So that's great there. And they will help us with our Stop Campus Hazing Act. Okay, so they will start sometime next week, but we have everything already scheduled for them. In terms of the Stop Campus Hazing Act, we do all types of work with student affairs, our law enforcement. We want to make sure that we are on top of things big time. We actually had a meeting last week to basically make sure that we are pretty much on the same page. This law was actually signed in just last month. I think it was at the end of December. So the fact that we've already met, me, student affairs, and a few of the campus partners, I think is a very, very good thing. And we have a second meeting scheduled for within the next 2 weeks. Okay. So with the Stop Campus Hazing Act, we need to make sure that we track numbers, report, and that so that we report, and we have to also publish hazing acts that happen on campus with our Clary stats, okay? So we have to make sure that our policies are, you know, basically up to date and things of that nature. So that's what we have been doing. So as it pertains to the hazing definition, we have one that's already in our student code, but there's also a state statute that has, I mean, not a state statute, but our state statute has a definition, but then there's a federal one too. So we want to make sure that we have the same definition across the board there. So in terms of, excuse me, and so like in terms of training, we also do training all around campus. We have our training that we do Title IX and civil rights training that we do every year that we all have to do. But I make sure that we train our faculty and staff sentence. So that's something that we do every year. But if we need to train them on different changes throughout the year, then we make sure we take care of that as well. In terms of Title IX regulations, so so as you all know, the Title IX regs have been in flux for the past year. And with the court cases enjoining those 2024 regulations, we still work to make sure that our Title IX and our Title IX and our EEO policies are basically updated. All right. So right now, for the spring semester, our focus is to finalize those different updates as pertains to our policies, promote training throughout campus, and then we want to make sure that we talk about other ways to deal with these different circumstances. So we have an informal resolution side too. So that's one of the things that we have in place as well. We are constantly increasing our campus visibility. So we have virtual and face-to-face, you know, training that we offer. And then we have a website that basically now, well, sorry, not just yet, but we're actually trying to work on it right now. So that should be up soon. We have a new website, but we're adding a training page to where we have a pretty good, I'll say a pretty good list of trainings there, but we also offer build your own too. So if somebody, let's say over in this college wants Title IX training, but they have a pattern of, let's say, verbal sexual harassment, but they may want to tie that into a Title VII type thing or something with disability discrimination, we can make that happen for them. Okay. And so we have that as well. We are very proud of our cases in terms of timeliness, in terms of making sure that if someone files a complaint and that if it takes time to get them to come and talk to us, we stay on top of that thing because we want to make sure that we put eyes on them as much as possible. Some students, some faculty or staff may not want to meet face to face, but we make sure we meet them where they are. So that can be virtually or maybe we go to them. All right. And we also work very close with our care team. So I sit on the care team as well as my director of investigations. Okay. So in addition to our main campus, we work hard to partner with, some of the other institutions around here. For instance, I work close with the nursing program at K-State. We have partnered with USD 259. And then of course, now that we have this new Wichita Biomedical campus, I have to work closely with KU. So that's been going great as well. Then as it pertains to our, so CTAC is also in charge of the ADA and Section 504, access to facilities and basically student disability services. We lead the oversight team, right? So for that team, we want to make sure that we look at what is happening around campus as it pertains to the ADA, monitor, and we advise on building structures, projects, any type of complaints in that regard. We also work closely with the Office of Student Accommodations and Testing. What we want to do is basically make sure that we get ahead on student accommodations as soon as we can. So if a student needs a certain chair or a certain desk, for the spring semester, we don't want to try to take care of that the first day. So we want to make sure we get in there to have that stuff situated for them prior to, okay? Now, in terms of, yeah, so in terms of Clary, we also work very closely with our law enforcement here. So so I'll say that within the past, year, we have added another staff member to basically help out with that. We have an assistant director of clerical compliance and education. So she works very, very close with, I would say, with Chief, with Captain Hurl. We want to make sure all of our stats are accurate, because that's the last thing that, the last thing that we want to do is be put in a bad situation in that regard. So we have partnerships all around campus to make sure that we have the right numbers. There are no duplicates, and that we're all on the same page. So that will conclude my report, board, but I'm here should you have anything that you want to add or any questions for me.
Yeah, I got one question, Dr. McHenry. One thing we've looked at in the past was if someone has a Title IX complaint and there's an investigation and they receive notice that there was the investigation revealed no wrongdoing, what's the opportunity to appeal that process if you felt like there was still something there? Or is it just done at that point?
All right, so let me make sure that I understand. So you want to know what the appeals process looks like once we're done with the Title IX process?
Yeah, is there an appeal process, and what's that look like? If a student comes in with a Title IX complaint, if you guys investigate and come back and say there's nothing, that student believes there's something there, is there a appeal process or way to elevate the issue, or is it dead at that point?
All right, sure. So the answer to that is yes. Okay. So we have two trained, let me see. So we have two trained folks here who actually handle those. So we have our Chief Human Resources Officer, who is one, and then our Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs. They will handle those. If a student wants to file an appeal, they would have to send that to me, and then I will send it over to that person. I mean, not to that person, but I'll send it over to the appeals officer, and they take a look at it to see if it even fits into what does actually qualify for one. So if, for instance, there are some forms of evidence that should have made it into the report, but maybe did not, that's something. If there was a bias or maybe something like that, then they can actually file one. So the short answer is yes, but I wanted to make sure that you understood that we have folks trained here to handle those. And when we have those happen, I make sure that it goes to the right person, right? So if it has involved maybe faculty or staff, then I'll send it to the one over, to our Chief Human Resources Officer. But for students, we have someone over in our Student Affairs. Yes.
Thank you.
No. Are there any other questions for me?
Other questions? Okay, looks like there are not. So thanks to all three of you. We appreciate what you're doing, and it's important work.
Thank you.
Police chief's on there.
Sorry?
Police chief's on there too, so it's all four of them.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All four of you. I was looking at my notes that had three. All four of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. That takes us to other matters, I think. I have one. We're going to ask John Yeary to update us on the compensation consultant. We've awarded the contract and they'll start to move forward.
That contract was just awarded to CBIZ recently. We got a signed contract a few days ago. Becky and I reached out yesterday and had a quick Teams call with their point person on our contract with them. They'll be reaching out with some information we need to provide them preliminarily. There will be a kickoff meeting scheduled. I think we'll just have probably staff at that. And then they anticipate about an 8-week timeline. So we think that we at least should have some preliminary information in March as a result of their work for us.
Well, as we've talked, I mean, that's our expectation. I mean, we really have to have it in March to make our timeline work. You all recall, this is one to help with more addition, we have good data, but to help with additional data for market, competitive markets. So I would envision something like a range with with a midpoint, and maybe 2 quadrants, maybe more, and then see where people stand, and also for structures. We've had some conversation about, might there be some alternative ways we have elements of compensation. They'll look at the peers we use. Again, we've got that good data already. And then if they finish in March, then we can start our discussions here on a couple months timeline like we always do. And then we won't anticipate what we're going to decide. But if we believe we need to do something, then that'll put us in a position to do that in our regular cycle in the June review. Any questions on that? Okay, all right.
Thanks for the update.
Are any other matters to come before the body? All right, we stand adjourned then. Thank you.
Great meeting, Chair.
I was hoping. Oh, I didn't, I should have seen it.